In this video, I'll give you a quick tour of the Unbounce builder, and I'll show you what you can do with it. Let's begin. Okay, so here we are in the Unbounce builder. And in this video, I want to give you a quick tour of all the different features and show you just how easy it is to build a landing page using a tool like Unbounce. Now, even if you don't plan on using Unbounce, this will still be beneficial because a lot of the landing page tools on the market all follow the same basic principles, especially these very popular dedicated landing page builder tools such as Unbounce, Instapage, Landingy, Lander, PageWiz, and others. Now, before we explore the actual Unbounce dashboard, let me just give you a quick overview of just some of the reviews and the overall contenders and leaders in the landing page builder space. I know we covered this previously in the course, but a great site that I always recommend checking out is g2crowd.com, which recently has been just referring to themselves as g2.com. But anyways, here we can see the G2 grid for landing page builders. And we can see here the leaders and the high performers and the niche builders and the contenders, and the satisfaction and market presence score is all laid out on this grid. And Unbounce is right here, up here in the satisfaction. It has a high level of satisfaction and it has a high market presence, so it's considered a leader. Now, I wouldn't really consider MailChimp to be a better landing page builder because MailChimp is primarily an email marketing tool, although as of recent, they're trying to do a lot more than that. But if you look at these just isolating the tools that are primarily landing page builders, you have Unbounce, you have Instapage, you have Landingy, you have Landing Lion down here, you have Wishpond, Lead Pages, and then again, HubSpot, I wouldn't consider a dedicated landing page builder because they're trying to do a lot more, and the same goes with ClickFunnels. So really, if you were to look at the ones that are just landing page builders, you'd be looking at Unbounce, Instapage, Landingy, and Landing Lion. And of these, Unbounce is the highest in terms of market presence and satisfaction. And if you look at their ratings on G2, you can see that they have 211 reviews. They have an average of 4.3 stars, and overall, it's just a really solid product. Now, Unbounce is based in Vancouver, Canada. They have a fantastic team, and they're always iterating and building upon the product. So if you go to the Unbounce homepage, you can get an overview of the different features, and a lot of the other tools like Instapage and Landingy have similar features. Something that I like about Unbounce that makes it stand out from the others is that they also offer pop-ups and sticky bars, which a lot of the other landing page tools don't offer. Now, Lead Pages does, but as of this recording, Instapage and Landingy do not. So if you want something where it's a little bit more than just landing pages, but it's not an all-in-one tool that's sort of a jack of all trades, master of none, then Unbounce is a really good option. And the cool part about their pop-ups and sticky bar features is that you can use those pop-ups and sticky bars on any website page, even if it's not an Unbounce page. So if you have a WordPress site, you can use your pop-ups and your sticky bars. That's what I have on landingpageschool.com. But anyways, we're going to be focusing on the landing page builder. So let's just look at some of the templates. So another really cool thing about Unbounce is they have a lot of very well designed templates, and this should be one of the criteria that you use to determine if this is the right tool for you. You should always look and see what templates do they provide you with, and how recently updated have the templates been. Are they constantly turning out new templates, or do they look old and dated? And so here you can see they have a whole bunch of templates. Some of my favorites are on here. Let me just point out a few. Let's look at this one. So this is a template that's designed for a real estate company, but it can easily be adapted to any type of lead generation page. And so you can see the different designs here. You can see that they embed a map, and it's just a very clean, simple, easy to use layout. Now, going back to some of the other features, I want to show you some of the features that make Unbounce really shine. First of all, it's a drag and drop builder, as I mentioned, so you can drag elements all over the canvas and you don't need to know how to code. We're going to see just how that works in a minute. Of course, it's mobile responsive, so it's going to look great on mobile devices and on desktop or laptop devices. It works with WordPress, so if you have a WordPress site and you want to use that same domain, there's a plugin where you can easily connect your Unbounce pages to your WordPress pages and you can use the same domain. And you have full flexibility over the domain setup, so if you're not using WordPress, no problem. You can easily set up a subdomain that works exclusively with your Unbounce account. They have lightboxes, which are a really cool feature, and we've talked about this a little bit in terms of setting up two-step opt-in forms where you have a form that's in a lightbox rather than a form that's directly on the page, and you can do that with a lightbox. And there's a whole bunch of other features. I'm not going to mention every single one. I'll just point out a few more. They have Google fonts that are built in, so you have a lot of different options to choose from in terms of the fonts. They support SVG images, which is really good, or SVG graphics, so you get those really sharp vector graphics. They optimize your images automatically. They have a built-in content delivery network. They have a lot of other speed boosting features on the back end. And I don't know if they mention it here. Yes, here it is. They have this really cool feature called dynamic text replacement, where this is really helpful, especially if you're running a lot of paid ads, or especially if these are Google ads. You can set up dynamic text on the page, and then all you would have to do is change the URL parameters, and it will automatically update the text on that page when someone visits it. So you could have the same page layout and just create different parameters in the URL for different ad groups, and you would then have dynamically updated text on the page. So it's basically a simple way to create very personalized, very relevant pages, all from the same actual page template, with just making a few changes to the URL of the published page. So I think you get the idea of all the different features here. And again, I'm not trying to sell you on Unbounce. I don't work for Unbounce. I am in their partner program, and I do use this tool personally more than any other landing page tool. But I just think it's a really solid product. And I know I get this question asked so much, where people are asking, well, now that I've learned the basics of landing page optimization, I want to actually dive in, but I don't know which tool to choose. And so to help you make that decision any easier, Unbounce is really the first tool I would recommend looking at. So anyways, let's switch over to the builder. So here we are in the Unbounce builder. And as you can see in this account, since this is a pretty new account that I'm demoing, I only have 2 pages here. They're both published. You can see with this little tab here that's blue, that means they're published. But as I build more pages, this list will increase. Now, the cool thing about Unbounce is you can have as many pages as you want. You just are limited by the number of active or published pages, depending on which account level you've signed up for. But over time, you'll probably accumulate quite a bit of pages. They probably won't all be published, but this way you can easily sort between them or filter them to find the page you're looking for, or you could just search here by the page name. So that's the Pages tab. Then down here you have pop-ups and sticky bars, which I mentioned earlier. These can be used on any website. It's just a basic line of JavaScript code that you add, and you can easily create a sticky bar. Let me just show you some of the templates real quick, because this is a relatively new feature. So the difference between pop-ups and sticky bars is pop-ups are these square or rectangular boxes that pop up on the page, and then sticky bars, they appear at either the top or the bottom of a page. So pop-ups are probably what are more popular, although sticky bars are great because they're less intrusive. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different templates to choose from, or you can start from scratch. But as I mentioned before, it's probably better to start with a template if this is your first time building a landing page or building a pop-up or a sticky bar, because you can always customize it. Then you have this AMP feature, which is only available on certain plans within Unbounce, but we're going to cover that in more detail later on in the course. But just know that of the different landing page builders that are on the market right now, to my knowledge, only Unbounce and Instapage offer AMP capabilities in terms of some of the major players in the landing page builder space. Then you have this integrations tab. This is where you can set up different integrations for various services. Like here I have it set up with MailChimp, and whatever you're using, you can see those different integrations here. But to be honest, you're probably not going to use this page too much. Then you have this domains tab. This is where you can control all of the different domains and subdomains that are connected, whether it be a WordPress domain or a subdomain that you've set up exclusively for your Unbounce account. Then you have this user portal where you can list out the different users, you can invite people to the account, and it just helps you collaborate with others inside your Unbounce account. Then you have settings. Some of the really cool settings are the script manager, where let's say you have a piece of code like Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics that you want to add to multiple pages and you don't want to do it page by page. You can do it by just adding a script and then adding it to every page on a domain. So that's what the script manager is for. And then you have some other settings here like an IP filter to filter out your own traffic so that you won't be counted in the visits or the conversions when you are testing your pages. And then you have this labs feature, which is where Unbounce sometimes will add these little Easter eggs or these cool features that you can test out, but really nothing too serious over here. So most of your time is probably going to be spent here in the Pages tab. And you also have the option to create groups, which are like folders, where you can have different groups for different clients or different projects you're working on, and it'll help you organize all of your pages if you have more than one page that has a certain theme or is tied to a certain project or a client. You'll find groups really, really useful. Okay, so why don't we build a page real quick, and we'll start with a template. So let's click on this Create New button from the Pages tab, and that's going to take us to this template library. And so there's a whole bunch of different types of templates. Click through coming soon, lead gen, consultancy. Let's see what the consultancy templates look like. And you can click on any of these and you can preview it real quick. You can even preview them on mobile. So let's check out this one here. This looks like a pretty standard layout. Let's go with this one. So we're going to just give it a name. We're going to say a demo LP for landing page. We're going to start with this template. And it just takes a minute to load. And here you are in the actual builder. So let me walk you through the different elements. So here on the left, this is called the widgets panel. And the widgets panel is where all of the different elements of the landing page will live. And this is where you can sort of think of it as your toolbox. You can drag items over. So for instance, if I want to add another button to the page, I can just drag it onto the page. And there you have a button. If I want to add an image, I can drag an image over to the page. If I want to add a lightbox, a form, if I want to embed a video, add some custom HTML, like maybe a Google map, a social widget, all of these different elements, these are your building blocks of your page. And this is pretty standard for most of the landing page builders that you're going to work with. They all consist of these different elements. Sections in Unbounce are really important because you can't have an element unless it's on a section. So a section, you can just drag it above or below any existing sections. These are just the different parts of the page. And so here, for instance, we can add a header section if we want. We can even move this section around. So let's say we want to move it down below the hero section, and we can change the height. It's very, very customizable. And then I can start adding things to it, like text. So you see how easy it is to make changes, and at no point do you need to dive into the code. Although if you are a coder or a developer, you have that capability if you want it. For instance, here, I can double click on this text box right here, and I can click View Source, and I can see the code if I want to, and I can edit it if I want to. So there's a lot you can do with the code if you feel like getting to that level of granularity. There's also this JavaScript tab down here at the bottom where you can add different scripts to the page, and the same goes for CSS. You can add various style sheets to your page if you want to. And for each element, you can also reference the element metadata such as the ID or the class. You can copy these elements. So those come in handy from time to time. But just know that you don't have to be a coder to get a lot of value out of Unbounce. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete this section here. And so here you can see how easy it is to have this template as your starting point. Let's say we want to make a few changes. Let's say we want to change the button color from red to orange. So we can just click on the button. We can choose a different color, or we can enter in the hex code if we have a specific color in mind. But for now, we're just going to choose this color. And let's say we want to round the edges of the button. and we want to remove this background shadow, and we want to change the text. We want to say, get my consultation, something like that. So you see how easy it is? We can even change the size here. Let's change it to 24 so it fits on one line. See how easy it is to change that button? And so that's all what you can do with this side panel here. These are all the different elements. Now, let's say we want to duplicate this button. That's where this top toolbar would come in handy. So this toolbar, this is for more of the high-level functions of the page builder. So things like undo, redo, moving sections up and down, sending elements forward or backward so that you have the order of elements just as you want it, and copying. So let's say I want to copy this button. I can click on copy, and then I can click somewhere else on the page, and I can click paste, and now I have two buttons. And let's say I want to delete it. And to save a click, you could even just click on it and click duplicate, and it's going to automatically duplicate whatever the element is. So that works with text, with images, with HTML code, you name it. So that's the toolbar up here, and then you have the all-important save button, and then once you save, you can then publish the page if you want to, and you can preview it. Previewing is really cool. Let's click on that real quick. So what this will do is it'll give you a pretty good representation of what the page will look like on desktop and on mobile. Now here you can see this page template actually has a video background, and so the video doesn't play in the builder. It only plays when you're previewing it or if the page was published. So those are some of the little things that you really wouldn't be able to see unless you preview the page. And on mobile, it gives you a good representation of what the page will look like on mobile. Let's go back to the page. And so that is the toolbar at the top. Then on the right here, this is called the properties pane. And this is where you do a lot of your fine tuning. So for instance, if I click on this text block here, this headline, you can see this properties pane changes. And now I have some really specific controls that are specifically tied to this text block. And this is where I can change the font family, I can change the text color, the text styles, the alignment, the size, the spacing, the positioning, you name it. There's a lot of different features here. And then on page properties, these are the page level properties. So things like the title or the description for the page, the overall colors of the page width, which is really important. I usually keep the pages at about 940 in terms of width, but that's really up to you. You just don't want the page to be too wide because you don't want people to have to scroll from side to side when they're viewing the page. And then you have this goals tab where you can set up conversion goals. And so to set up a conversion goal, there's really two ways to do it. If your page has a form on it, then that should automatically show up under goals. So for instance, let's quickly create a lightbox. So let's have a lightbox button, and we'll just replace this button here. And so if we click on that lightbox button, we drag it over here, that's going to create this lightbox tab. And so now we have a lightbox. So now in the lightbox, we can drag a form. And so let's just do a single line of text, and let's do email and phone number. And of course, we would customize all this before we publish it. But I just wanted to show you that when we do that, and we go back to the page, when we click over to goals, now you can see that one of the conversion goals is form submission, and it's automatically checked. So now what that means is every time someone submits that form, it's going to count one hit as a conversion within Unbounce. So this is a way to track conversions. Now the other way you can track conversions is if you have an external link. So for instance, if you just had another button, let's say it's this button here, and it's going to your external website. So let's just say it's going to landingpageschool.com. When we do that, when we go back over to goals, here you can see the link shows up as a conversion goal. So now if we want to track both form submissions and clicks on that button as conversion goals, then we would just check that box. So that's really helpful for getting your conversion rate figured out, especially if you're doing any type of A/B testing. So here you have some trust logos down here, some more text and images. Working with images is really easy. If I want to replace this image, I can just double click on it. Unbounce is connected to the Unsplash library, so I can click over here if I want, and I can search for blue car. Just to give you a quick example, I can click on this image, and it will easily import that image. And what it's also going to do is it's going to compress or optimize the image on the back end so that the image is not going to be supersized and it's not going to take up a whole bunch of space. So there you have it. Or you can add your own images, of course. You can import them very easily. Here you have some testimonials. And so again, you can move all of these items around. You can select multiple items and you can move them as a group. It's up to you. So you can see how easy and flexible Unbounce is. And then after you build everything and you're happy with how it looks on desktop, you could switch over to mobile and you can then make sure things are optimized on mobile. There's this really handy button over here where if you click on a section, you'll see Layout Assistant, and you can apply it to either a section or to all sections, the entire page. So what I'll usually do is I'll go through and just apply it to the section. And what Layout Assistant tries to do is tries to put everything in the best order possible on mobile. Now, it doesn't get it right 100% of the time. A lot of times, for instance, maybe you want this button above this text. So maybe the positioning will be a little wrong, but it's a good starting point for building out your mobile version so that you don't have to do too much work manually. So if we switch back over to the desktop mode, you can basically see that's Unbounce in a nutshell. I think I covered most of the main features here. So let's save this page and let's go back to the overview. Now, since this page has not been published yet, the only way to publish it is from this page, which is sort of like the dashboard or the back end of this single page. This is where you would set up things like other variants, you would set up your A/B test, and you would publish the page. So let's go ahead and publish it real quick. And for this purpose, we're just using a demo URL that I have set up in the account. Unbounce also provides a demo URL called unbouncepages.com. But remember, if you're going to be sending real traffic to the page, you'll want to have your own URL, which is very easy to set up. All you have to do is use what's called a CNAME record and point it to your Unbounce account. It's very easy, and there's a lot of documentation for how to do it. But anyways, here we have the page. It's been published. This is where you can also set up things like, well, first of all, you can view the number of leads that come in if you have a form on the page. Right now, there are none. But this is where you can set up integrations. And this is where you can also set up email notifications. So if you want to be notified each time someone fills out that form, you can easily set up those notifications here. You can also have them be sent to a client or to multiple people. And then there's a whole bunch of integrations. If you don't see the integration you're looking for here, you can usually get it accomplished by using Zapier, which is also built in. However, in many cases, you will need a paid Zapier account if you need to set up a third-party integration with Zapier, because in most cases, you're going to need the paid account. But again, that's not necessary. That's only if you need to set up an integration that's not listed here. So there you have it. If you want to set up an A/B test, it's as easy as creating your first variant, and then you can just duplicate it. And once you're duplicating it, now you have two variants here. So let's say that you want this first variant, this is your control variant. Okay, so this is your original headline, let's say. And let's say what you're trying to test here are two different headlines. And so then you could say this is the first variant, this is the new headline. So that just helps you keep track of what change you made. You can then go into this variant and you can change the headline. So let's say this is the new headline. Of course, I wouldn't normally build a page like this. I'm just doing this as quick as possible just to give you the overall idea of how this works. So now we have two variants which are identical other than the headline. And so if I wanted to run an A/B test, I can just give this one some traffic. So I'm just going to give it a 50-50 split. So now I'm sending 50% of the traffic to the first variant and 50% to the second variant. Now, this is not active until I republish the page. That's a really important step. But once I republish it, what's going to happen is for everyone who visits the page, the first time, 50% of the traffic is going to see variant A and 50% will see variant B. Now, if the same person comes back to the page again, as long as there is still a cookie present, in other words, if they're visiting from the same browser that they did before, Unbounce will remember them and they will show them the same variant that they saw originally. So it's not going to confuse them with two different pages every time they visit. But this only works if they visit from the same browser. But there you have it. That's how to set up a split test. And then you can let it run and you can then see the number of conversions that come in and the conversion rate. And Unbounce will even give you a confidence percentage over time where it'll tell you how confident they are that these numbers are statistically significant. But there's a lot that goes into this. We're certainly going to talk about it a little bit in this course later on when we get to analytics. But just know that A/B testing, Unbounce, and all of these tools make it seem a lot easier than it actually is. So there is a lot of statistics that's good to know before you set up an A/B test, just to make sure you're doing it right and you're getting statistically significant results. So there you have it. That's Unbounce in a nutshell. And again, not trying to push you in one direction or another if you're trying to decide which landing page builder to use, but I wanted to just give you one quick example of how a lot of folks build landing pages, myself included, and show you how easy it can be. So that's my landing page build out process. Feel free to use it as is or adapt it as you see fit. Whatever you do, make sure you have a process of some type in place. It will help you stay focused and work much more productively. In the next part of the course, we'll dive into one of the most asked about areas of landing page optimization, A/B testing. I'll see you there.